Let's get started with this tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is create my project folder, and I will call it project, and inside my project folder I will create the index.html file, which is the HTML file that we'll be using for this project. I will also open Visual Code Studio by shift right click, open PowerShell Windows here, and type in code column. Okay, let's go to the HTML file and let's create the HTML structure that we'll be using for this project. And for this, I will just use the emit abbreviation that comes with Visual Studio Code. I will select HTML5. I actually need to link a bunch of stuff. The first thing I want to link is my style sheet, and I've already created the link, which is linked with the reference of style sheet, type text.css, media screen, and the href goes to css styles.css, and I will create this file now. So the first thing I will do is create the folder called css, and inside the folder I will create the file called styles.css. The next thing I need to do is link my JavaScript, and I've already prepared the script for this as well. So it's script source main.js, and we close script. Let me create the file here on the left side as well, main.js. Now we have everything we need to get started with this project. Another thing that I want to mention is that I will be using the library load option on Visual Studio Code, and you can download it from the plugins on the left side here. I will close the menu here now as we won't need it, and I will run the live server. That opened the browser for me. As you can see, we've got a blank project. To get started with this project, the first thing I'm going to do is create a div with the ID of slice. Inside this div I want to add an image, and actually I forgot to add the image in the project. I will copy a random image that I downloaded from unsplash.com, and I've called it unsplash.jpg. And if I go back to my document, I can do image source unsplash.jpg, and I will give it an alt tag unsplash image. Okay, that's great. So as you can see on the right side, the browser refreshed automatically, and we are pretty much done with the HTML. Now that we've linked our style sheet in here, let's start by writing style sheet row. The first few things I want to do is remove the margin from our project, and to do this I'll use the body tag and just do reset the margin to 0. And I also want to center align some of the elements just so you can see a little bit better. So what I would do for this is I will display the body as a grid. I will display the body as a grid, and what I will do is I will do place items place items center, which should center align the item for me. The next thing I want to do is, as you can see, the image is absolutely huge, so I want to give this div size, and I want the image to fit inside this div. So basically I need to convert the image to be responsive, and to do this it would be very easy. First of all, let's do the styles for the slice, and what I want to add is the width of 800 pixels and the height of 500 pixels. As you can see, the image is still big, which is absolutely fine. Let me quickly also add the position of relative, which I will explain a little bit later. To make the image responsive, all we have to do is add slice image and do width 100%, do height to be auto. Awesome. As you can see now, the image is fitting the div that we created, and just for testing purposes later on I will create a background property, color, and Alice blue will do for now. So if I was to remove the image later on, you will see that we have this aqua blurred in the background. This is just for testing purposes, so you can see which area we're working on, and that's it. There is not much left in terms of CSS, so let me quickly finish this off. As we're doing this project, I will be generating multiple divs which will act as the image separators or slices, let's say. And basically I want to add a few properties just so we can have that really nice animation, which I will show you in a second. Let's start slice div. The position for this div will be absolute, as we have the position for the slice relative, so that will work really well. I need the Z index to be set to 1 so the slices appear on top, and also I want to make sure that the background doesn't repeat, so I'll do background repeat to no repeat. And let's add some transform properties, which we'll see later on how they work. So I want transform rotate of Y, and I think I need the 50 degrees, minus 50 degrees, and I also want to add scale of 0.5. I think that should do the job. We'll test a little bit later. I also want to make the transition of the animation really smooth, and to do this I will add, so I've got the transform and I need to add the transition all, and my transition will be 0.6 seconds, and I've already selected the way I want it to animate, but I will show you in a second. And this is basically what I've got for my animation. Cubic Bezier 0.445, 0.05, 0.55 and 95. If you wonder how did I come up with this number, I experimented quite a lot, but there was nothing that I liked, so I found this website which is called easinks.net, and in this website there are quite a few easings that you can choose from, and my favorite was the easing out sign. So basically what I've done is I pretty much copied the numbers from here, and that gave me this really smooth animation that you will see later on. Okay, let's continue for now. I want transition origin to start from the bottom, and you will see why later on. No, it's transform. Okay, the last property that I want to add is slice. I will explain this in a second actually. So I want to put the opacity this to 1. I want to transform rotate Y to 0 degrees, and I have a spelling mistake, it's kind of hard to see. So basically transform origin, I need this basically here, rotate Y. I need to set this 0, so I'm basically resetting the rotate Y 550 degrees here to 0 degrees, and I want to add translate 0 as well. Translate Y to 0. You'll see why later on in the video. Last but not least, here I need to add transition delay 0.5 seconds. Okay, I think we are actually done with the CSS here, and we can start writing the JavaScript. To start with, I will create a slice function that will be the main function for this project. So I will call it var variable slice, and also I want to start this function. To do this, I want to do this on Windows load. So window I need to create a new instance of slice, reference the slice function here. So basically what this will do is when the window loads, this function will be triggered. To test this, I can quickly do something like alerts, and I'll just do something like this for one. So you will see that we are getting the alert. So far, everything seems good. I want to split the image, remove the opacity for a second so I can explain. I basically want to split this image into multiple columns or slices. To do this, first of all, I need to find out the width of this image or the actual div that we use, the div of slice. So I want to find the width and I want to find the height. To do this, I can create a new variable and call it slice, let's call it slice div, and this will be equals document get element by ID slice. Okay, in order for me to show you that this works, I can do a few things. If I inspect the browser, first of all, I can console log the slice div. As you can see, that's giving me the div and everything inside it. So that seems to work. The next thing I want to do is find out the width and the height. I'll create two variables. The first one will be w as width. I will do slice div offset width, which should give me the width, and I will do exactly the same for the height. So variable height is equals slice div dot offset height. To test whether this works, I can again do console.log, and I can do let's log the width, and then let's log the height. So as you can see, I'm getting 800 by 500 pixels, which is correct. This will be very important for later on to do the maths of splitting the slices, which I will show you in a second if you stick around. Let's now create the numbers of slices, and to do this I will create a variable and I will call it grid x, and let's say I want to split this image on let's split this image by 4. Another thing that I need to find out is the source of the image. To do this, I will create another variable and I'll call it image img for short. What I'll do is I'll do document.query select all, then I will select the div slice, the image inside it, and also select the first image by doing this. I always get this wrong, so it's like this. Okay. If I was to log in the image, we now get the width, the height, and the image source, which is great. Here I want to add another variable, which will be the delay of the animation, and I will put this as 0.05 for now. Now I'm going to create a function which will start creating the slices for me. But first, let me take off the image by hiding it with opacity 0 so it doesn't get in the way. And I will start by creating create function, so I can literally do something like this dot create function. To trigger this function, I can do something like this dot create and trigger it. So hopefully, if I console.this log and do something like 1, 2, 3, you will see that this is triggering this function, which is awesome. Okay. To create the slices, which is the most important bit of this tutorial, I will have to do a for loop. Let me first write this and I will explain it as I go as much as I can. So to write a for loop, you can do for x is equals 0. Then I can say while x is smaller than grid x, which is 4, make sure you do x plus plus. So what I'm saying here is x is set to 0, while x is smaller than 4, in this case, it will keep multiplying, the x will keep multiplying every single time. Open the for loop, and inside the for loop I can start doing the maths to generate the slices. I will try to explain as much as I can now. What I'll do, the first thing I want to do is basically, let me write it out. So variable is equals x times the width divided by grid x, and then we need to add pixels. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm creating a variable called width. I want to have x times the width, which we know from here. So x times 800 is equals 0 in the first loop, by the way, divided by the grid, which will be at this moment 4, and then at the end I need it in pixels, so later on I can use it appended to my styles of the div, which I'll show you in a second. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to create the divs which will act as slices, and to do this I will create a variable called div, and I will equals this document document create element, and the element will be div. Also, I need to insert this div inside the slice ID, and to do this, what I can do, something like document get element by ID slice, I can append child do div. Okay, let's see if this works. So as you can see, we now have 4 divs in here appended inside the div slice with the ID slice, which is great. You can't see them in here because they don't have width, height or anything like this. We'll add that in a second. Try to move this to the left, to the right. The next thing I need to do is start positioning the div. I will start writing all the styles here. So basically I need to add styles to the div, and to do this is actually fairly simple. What you can do is div.style, and the first style I will add is, let's say, left, and I want left to be equals the width that we just created here. The next style I want to add is top, and top will be equals always 0. The next style I want to do is dot width, so the width of each individual element. I want to have this as the width of the actual div divided by the grid x, which we have here, so divided by 4. I want this to be in pixels. The next style we will need the height, and the height will be very easy. So div dot style dot height is equals height. The height will be always the same in this case, unless we want to split the image in half as well, but for this tutorial I'll just keep it super simple, so I'll just do pixels. Now I need to append the background image and position it, which is probably the most important part. So div background image, I need URL, and inside the URL I can add the image. What I'm doing here is basically I'm adding the image source which we found on here in here as the background image. So if I inspect my elements now, you will see, okay, I think we've got some sort of an error, so let me quickly fix this. Okay, so I found the error, and the error was basically a spelling mistake. It's grid X. If we have a look now, you can see that the image is actually starting to appear. We have the background image with the URL which we are taking from here. Awesome. The next thing we need to do is to position the background. Div dot style dot background position is good. And I need to have the background position as negative size of the width. Okay, I need to add this div style. I need to add the background size to be equals the width in pixels. So we're measuring the width here, and that's what I've used for the background size. I now need to add the delay of the animation, which you will see in a second. To do this, I need to add another div, style delay. I can use delay variable here. Actually, what I want to do is delay each slice individually a little bit so it creates this nice flowing effect. And to do this, I will do x times the delay plus I will add this as seconds. So the next challenge is that when I hover my mouse over, I want the animation to start, and when I hover out, I want the animation to stop. This is why I was creating this div here and the active class, which I will show you right now. So with my styles, I think I've got a mistake on my style sheet, so let me quickly have a look. Oh, I needed to add opacity, that's why. So I need to add opacity 0 in here. When I add this class to the div ID slice, the opacity will go to 1. The rotate Y will be reset, translate Y will be reset as well. I don't know why I have this, but I might have to remove this. Anyways, let's have a look on how to do this, the hover effect. To do the hover effect, what we can do is basically the first thing we need to get is the element by ID. So let's do document.get element by ID. The ID is slice. So when we hover over slice, I want something to happen. What I'll do is dot on mouse over is equals function. And the function, I will call it mouse over. What this does is it selects the element with ID of slice, and on mouse over we are triggering this function, which I will create right now. So to create the function, what we have to do is do function mouse over, write the stuff inside here. The thing I want to do is, as I said, I want to add to this div here, slice, I want to add a class of active. And to do this, I can do something like slice div dot class list dot add. I can add the name of active. Okay, so if I save this and I hover over, you can see that the animation started. That's brilliant. The next thing I want to do is exactly the same, but when the mouse is out. So I will copy this and just do on mouse out. I will rename the function here to out. I will also copy this, paste it, change it to out. Instead of that, I want to remove the active class. So if I hover over, we get this, and when I get my mouse out, that's what we get. I think we're having some issues with the CSS, so let me have a look quickly of what is the problem. Okay, so I found the problem, and the problem is that for some reason I've got transform origin, which is not correct. So it needs to be transform, and we are getting this effect. The only issue here is that we're not getting, I don't think that we're getting the delay. So let me also have a look at this. Basically, div style delay is wrong. What I've got to do is div style transition delay, and that should hopefully now work. So if I hover over, you're seeing this effect coming up nicely, and if I hover out, you'll see it fading out. And also I can now take off the background color so it doesn't look odd, and you will see the animation is super smooth. And also what I wanted to show you, the last thing I want to show you is the transform origin. I can change this to left, for example, and you will see how the animation starts from the left, which is pretty cool. And I can change this to be from the right, and let's leave it as bottom, and that's it. I hope you like this tutorial. My name is Roddy and you just watched Roddy the Brand. Please subscribe to my channel, it will help me a lot. If you have any questions, please comment below. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and that's it.